Probably one of the most important skills that you want to develop will be strong and effective research skills. Not just in the classroom where, obviously you'll do history research on events and people and places, or in English where you might analyze literature or develop an argument that needs evidence, but also in your own personal lives. And this is important to know how to do effectively because some of the material out there might be useful, but you need to know how to make sure it's relevant to what you need and credible, trustworthy. And while we have a wealth of online resources, only some are really effective to getting this job done right. So, what I want to do is walk you through what typically happens in a classroom when a student is given a research assignment and show you the pros and cons of that typical approach. And then we'll take a look at another way of doing this more effectively. So, let's set the stage. I'm in English class. My teacher is giving an assignment. You need to develop an evidence based argument on the topic of whether Harrison High School should adopt a school uniform to its dress code. And I'm given the assignment to defend dress codes, to argue on behalf of dress codes. All right, so what does a typical kid do? We open up our Google search engine and we click school uniforms and find what we can find. All right, first thing I notice is the number of results, 2,860,000,000. Think about that number, guys. That is astronomical. There is no way on God's green earth anyone is going to go through every one of those sources to find the best ones to be able to write an argument for. It's just too large. It's not manageable. And the other thing to think about is, well, what are these hits? You would think when I do my Google search, my most relevant results are going to be up top. Well, what do I have? I got JCPenney. I've got Kohl's. I've got Target. I have Land's End and Amazon. None of this is meaningful to me. None of this is relevant. It's not related to my assignment. And before I'm even going to find anything related, I'm going to have to sift through all of this, which may mean by the time I get to my fifth, sixth page on Google, I am so worn out, the first article that even looks like it tells me something I need, I'm going to take, whether I believe the information or not. This is not a meaningful approach. Think about this, guys. Google is a business. They're in this field to make money. And every one of these companies that appeared on this first page paid Google to appear here. So despite the large number, that might seem like a good thing, but again, let's face it, it's too big. We don't know how reliable any of this is because it's not popping up because I'm looking for it. It's popping up because Target paid Google to put them here. This doesn't help me. I can't trust any of this. So it's not reliable. It's not relevant. There's a better way. What I want you to think about is using databases. In Ohio, we're provided with services known as Infohio, which is a collection of databases and archives of published information which is reliable. It is credible. All of this material is coming from published services, anything from newspapers to academic journals. While newspapers, some people may say, that's not reliable. Well, if it's a real newspaper and not a tabloid, they have to follow what are called a canon of ethics, a set of rules before they can publish an article. And one of the most important things they have to be able to do is to corroborate their information. That means they can't write that Joe Blow saw Sally unless someone else can corroborate, can prove that, yeah, Sally was in that same spot too. But it can't be Joe Blow. It's got to be Billy Bob. It's got to be someone else that saw it. And so, while that's not a very high standard for credibility, it's at least getting other eyewitnesses to back up what one person saw. But you go to the other end of the spectrum, academic journals, these are experts in the field. These are professors, these are scholars, these are people conducting experiments to find information. And what's more, these articles oftentimes are what's called peer reviewed. Other experts, their peers, review their research and comment on the strength or weakness of it. So that's a very high standard for credibility. You're not getting out of Google. So let's think about what we can get out of Infohio. I'm going to briefly walk you through where you're going to go here. We're going to click on grades 9 through 12. We're going to look for a database called Academic Search Premier. Oh, it's not on this page. We need to go to the Browse button. Click the Browse button. Oh, sorry, it was there. I just missed it. So Academic Search Premier. And let me show you the difference. I click in school uniforms. Remember, it's 8.6 billion in Google. We are just over 5,000 sources here. The difference between Google and Infohio is that every one of these sources was published in another journal, magazine, or newspaper, and so we know it's credible, and that we know every one of these articles, they're not trying to sell us something, they're trying to inform us, they're trying to persuade us. The purpose of a database is to provide information, not to sell something. So we know it's trustworthy, not like Google. So next time you have a research assignment, don't make Google your first stop. Make Infohio your first stop. This is going to provide you with relevant and credible information that you can use to back up your argument. Now, on a side note, Google and maybe even Wikipedia, I'm one of those teachers that say stay away from Wikipedia, but these could be helpful if and only if you know absolutely nothing about your topic. So there, before you can develop an argument, you need to know what the sides are. You need to know who the stakeholders are, what the controversy is all about. So Wikipedia can be helpful to do some background work. But once you've done that background work, come into the databases to get the real research. I hope this helped. As always, feel free to ask any questions that you may have, and I'll take you to the next step. Thanks a lot.